Hey guys, before we get into this video, I just want to remind you all that I'm going live on draft night this Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Time. I'm going to be not live streaming the draft, but live streaming my reactions and live grades to all the draft picks. So if you guys are interested, please tune in. I would really appreciate it. Well, hello everyone. I'm Chase Keller from Chase Keller Journalism, and thank you guys for tuning into this video. Today I'm going to be going through the top 100 prospects in the 2023 NFL Draft. Now, this is basically just my big board, all compiled into one video. I just want to go over a couple of things before we get into this. I have 266 draftable players in this draft. I have 15 first-round talents, which I will get into later. And overall, this top 100 is just the first 100 people that come up on my big board. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned something from it. And without further ado, here are my favorite prospects in the 2023 NFL Draft. So let's get into this. All right, so we're going to start with 91 to 100 here. We're going to go from 100 to 1, of course. Why would I go 1 to 100? But we're going to start with 91 to 100. So some of these guys in the back half of this section here are early fourth-round talents in this draft. But after a little bit, we transition into these late third-round talents as well. These early fourths are good players. They're good backups with the potential to just become like a low-end starter. And these late thirds are the same way, but they have more upside and more potential to become these impactful starters. So starting with 100, I have Andre Iosivas, wide receiver 11 out of Princeton. I mocked Iosivas at pick 105 to Tennessee, and I think he could be a potential steal in this draft. He has very nice athleticism with great ball skills at catch point, and his overall instincts need to be developed to a fantastic wideout. So I love the potential that he has in Tennessee's offense too, as they don't really have great depth at the wide receiver position. He could be a solid rotational piece very early in his career, but I don't think he's going to be that starting guy right away, despite that really bad depth. So at number 99, I have Northwestern edge out of Tomiwa Adebaware. A little bit bold coming in here early on. He is my edge number 16 in this class. Consensus has him at number 47 compared to my number 99. I understand a little bit, but I'm just not too high on him. I understand why people think he has high upside because the athleticism and versatility combination that he has is very good in a prospect. It's almost very rare to find in a defensive lineman. But I don't like his 3-down upside. He just isn't great at finishing the play. Making tackles is a little bit of a concern. Definitely just taking into account that he is a defensive lineman, he should be good at wrapping up tackles. And yeah, he's also very inconsistent in run defense as well, which I do have someone from Kansas State later on in this top 100. You could probably already guess who it is, but he's in the same way, but he's got a much more well-rounded game than Adebaware does. So I have him mocked to the Chiefs at pick 63 in my latest mock. Number 98 is J.L. Skinner, the safety out of Boise State. I have him at my 8th best safety in this class. Skinner was originally tagged as a consensus top 5 safety, but he had that massive injury concern where he may not even play in 2023. Someone very similar is Andrew Voorhees, interior offensive line out of USC. He's the same way for me, and he was actually going to be in my top 100, but he had a torn ACL at the combine. He still did the bench, which shows his grit. Just he wants to do something. But he ended up at 146 on my big board. So big fall, but nonetheless, Skinner has heavy cover 1 upside with great run support as well. And he comes in at pick 89 to the Giants in my latest mock draft. Continuing on, number 97 is running back Chase Brown out of Illinois. My running back 10 in this class. There are 10 running backs on this list. The running back class is very deep, hence why I fell to pick 149 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in my latest mock draft. Brown can play all 3 downs out of the backfield, and he's very explosive off the snap as well. Explosiveness won't get him everywhere, though. He does have vision inconsistencies, and he isn't great with play strength, and he won't compete for the running back 1 in the Bucs offense. Because Rachaad White is likely going to secure that number 1 role, but a good reliable backup is good enough. Especially noting his draft place at 149. Getting a valuable backup at 149 is pretty good. 96, we move on to quarterback Tanner McKee. He is my quarterback 6 in this class, originally my quarterback 5 over Hendon Hooker. My original board didn't really value QBs as much as it does now, but McKee isn't going to be a starter. I have him mocked at 119 to the Vikings, where he'll sit behind Kirk Cousins, be a reliable backup, and he'll be that reliable backup due to his frame and good processing ability compared to other prospects. He doesn't to fit the traditional QB role at all. He plays like an old school air raid guy. He's not mobile outside of the pocket at all. And yeah, he plays like an old school quarterback. Number 95, I have another safety in Penn State's Jair Brown. He is my 7th best safety in this class. I love the motor of Jair Brown. He clearly shows dedication through his anticipation and run support abilities. He doesn't have great hip fluidity, though, and his transition doesn't really translate, or his transition to speed doesn't really translate to lateral movement in itself. I do have him mocked going to the LA Chargers at pick 85, though. Number 94 on my big board, I have linebacker DeMarvion Overshown. He's from Texas. He's my 6th favorite linebacker in this draft. I have him falling all the way to pick 134 to Minnesota, and the linebackers did fall a bit as these teams don't really want to reach on one, but they also don't really want to miss an opportunity. So this was a mock trade where Minnesota trades up for him as a prospect. He is a very athletic linebacker with good pass rush versatility. His tackling and finishing abilities do need improvement. I know these guys are marked as good backups, but I do think he'll fill in as a starter immediately, noting the big need for the Vikings at middle linebacker. Continuing on, number 93, this starts the list of the late 3rd round talents. So these guys who are basically the same as these early 4th round talents, but these guys have more upside and higher, or more likely to become a better starter than these early 4th round guys. It starts with Matthew Bergeron out of Syracuse. Bergeron, my LT8. I mocked him to the Titans at pick 72. And with the sign of Dillard, I think he does run at right tackle. He does have a lack of length to play the blind side, but Bergeron he's great at mirroring pass rushers. He's very good laterally, and he's good at staying good in his leverage with these elusive rushers as well. Returning to running backs here with number 92, I have East Carolina's Keaton Mitchell. He is the highest East Carolina guy on my board. Wide receiver C.J. Johnson is also on the board here in the early 2000s. He is a very athletic back with shiftiness. He's got speed too, but he loses out on size. He stands at 5'8", 179 pounds, and I did mock Mitchell to the Cleveland Browns to play that backup role at pick 126. All right, end of the first 10 here. I have interior offensive lineman Steve Avila at number 91. He's sitting at my interior offensive lineman number 5. Avila's filmed straight away for me. For me wanting to call him one of these top-tier prospects, and I still think he does have good versatility and good strength, but the issue was how quickly he allowed pressures and the quantity that he allowed to these NFL-level rushers. I mocked Avila at pick 52 to the Seattle Seahawks, which may be a little bit of a reach, but it does fill in a much-needed hole for that team. All right, we are moving on to 81 to 90. We do get a pretty solid gap in career production midway through this list right here. But continuing on with the good backups, though, I do have safety Sidney Brown out of Illinois at number 90, coming in at my safety number 6. So Brown is extremely versatile as a safety. He has the ability to play deep, over and under routes, and in the box as well. His ball skills are fantastic, but his man coverage isn't too great. He does allow too much separation in off man and in zone as well. And man, as of course in man press too. He just allows too much separation. I did mock Sidney Brown to pick 77 to the Cincinnati Bengals. Number 89 is the first of 15 cornerbacks on this list, and it starts with Stanford's Q. Kelly. He is fantastic in man coverage, where he stays tight to his assignment and he mirrors them very well. Athletically, he's not great. He does miss a lot of tackles in the open field, which gives him more pressure to stay on his assignment alone. I mocked him to the Carolina Panthers at pick 93 to give them more cornerback depth that they really need. Number 88, my linebacker number 5 comes in here with Washington State's Dion Henley. Henley's linebacker abilities are very good, but as a defender, he is extremely versatile in his alignments, including having snaps at safety, so that might be a good move there for Buffalo. which I have them picking him at 91. Might be a good move for Buffalo to move him to safety since they do have Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer both getting a bit on the older side, and they don't have a lot of depth at that position either. They do have DeMar Hamlin coming back, good for him. But he does remind me a lot of Matt Milano as a linebacker, which makes sense that I mocked him to the Bills as well. But on the negative side, he does need to improve on his instincts and work better in stack and box situations. Moving on to number 87. We got the third running back on this list so far, and the eighth best running back in the class, and that is Texas's Rashawn Johnson. Johnson he's a very nice combination of strength and athleticism that teams are going to absolutely love. And I love how speedy he is, especially for his size. But he's a very poor blocker that lacks a twitch in the open field. But if he can rely on his play strength, he'll be all right. I did mock him to pick 110 to the Atlanta Falcons. He won't compete for that RB1 job with Tyler Algier, but he will act as that right-hand man if he needs it. Number 86, guy, we are going to get a little bit bold here. This guy is a 6th round projection. I have him at number 86 with a late 3rd round grade. That is interior defensive lineman Jared Clark out of Coastal Carolina, which is my number 8 interior guy. I still see Clark as a better version of Baylor Siaki Ika. Ika sits all the way down to number 129 on my big board, so you won't see him anytime soon here. But Clark's bull rush is absolutely fantastic. He's extremely strong, and he even has some like secret athleticism when you consider that he's 6'4", 334 pounds. So he is very raw, which is going to hurt him as a prospect a little bit. But I have him mocked going to the Las Vegas Raiders at pick number 100, despite him having a 6th round projection. Number 85, going to the back half of this section, I have Joe Tippmann out of Wisconsin, who is my 4th favorite interior offensive lineman here. Tippmann is a strong blocker on the inside with a lot of starting experience, too, in Wisconsin's offense, and they are consistently elite in run blocking in Wisconsin. He does have okay leverage, though. He has bad hand placement, might make him prone to holding penalties in the NFL. But I mocked him to the Chicago Bears at pick 64, which is the first pick of the 3rd round for a late 3rd round talent. And the final player with a good backup label here is wide receiver Raheem Jarrett out of Maryland. He is my 10th favorite wideout in this class. He is ranked as 185th consensus, so another potential steal. And I do think his athleticism and ability to just make plays in the open field is elite for a wide receiver. The reason he does fall on boards is due to his ability to make a catch with a mediocre catch radius and okay route running. But he really depends what you value most in the linebacker. Depends what you value most in the wideout. So I mocked Jarrett to the Cleveland Browns at the 111th overall pick. So we're moving on to a new grade, though. These next bunch of players, they are B- grades. So those last guys were C+. Now we're getting into B-. So these guys are early to mid 3rd round selections. These are now translating to a great backup or a mediocre starter, depending on this team situation. So we're going to start with that number 83, another potential steal. We're on a roll here, guys. We're going with Alex Austin out of Oregon State. This is a situation where he would likely be placed as a great backup, being mocked to San Francisco at pick 101. He's another guy who could just be a steal in this class. He's got good athleticism for the position with very solid instincts, but he does struggle with consistency when making the tackle after allowing that catch. So he is going to try to not want to allow catches. He's going to want to be a shutdown and man, because if he allows the catch, he's a little bit of a liability. Going back to wide receiver, number 82, another guy I could see being one of the best in this class with heavy upside. That is Ole Miss wideout Jonathan Mingo. He is my wide receiver number 9 in this class. He is fantastic in the open field when he gets the separation, which he is pretty mediocre with his route running. But he could become one of the best wide receivers in the screen game and short game, depending on how he's utilized in the offense. I do have Mingo heading to Seattle, which that will be a solid spot for a solid new receiver for good quarterback Geno Smith. Especially when he has DK Metcalf, who also went to Ole Miss, and he's also a kind of has a somewhat similar skill set to Mingo when Metcalf was coming into the draft. So that says enough. Wrapping up this next section with number 81, I do have Zach Harrison out of Ohio State, the 15th best edge rusher in this class. So it's crazy to think that there are 14 edges throughout these next 80 prospects. But speaking of Harrison, I love his upside with athleticism, and he's got measurables that check out for the NFL as well. He was unproductive at Ohio State. He isn't as elusive as you want to say, sought out or sight out, however you want to say that. But I do have Zach Harrison going to the Jacksonville Jaguars at pick number 70, which he was mocked there through a trade with the Raiders, which I'll get to in a little bit. All right, so we are going to continue the trend of these great backups and mediocre starters for the next 10 picks. So I start this section with an extremely bold selection, meaning at number 80, I have Cincinnati tight end, not Josh Weil. No, it's Leonard Taylor, the backup tight end from Cincinnati. And I'll explain here in a moment. He is my tight end 7 in this class, and it's basically all upside based for this selection. Excuse me. He may have been the backup to Weil, but he just reminds me so much of George Kittle as a prospect. When I looked at Kittle a few years ago, I wasn't too high on him, and I learned my lesson. So I'm really high on Leonard Taylor here. And he just brings so much there's so many NFL traits to the table. He's got good receiving abilities. He's got good blocking abilities. He's an all-around consistent tight end with a skill set. The concern is, of course, the minimal starting experience, but he does also struggle after the catch, which when you take into account that Michael Mayer also struggles in the open field after the catch, that's saying something. So in my 7-round mock, I did have the Cleveland Browns waiting to select them all the way down at pick 142. Number 79 on my board is linebacker Henry To'oTo'o out of Alabama. He is my 4th best linebacker in this class. To'oTo'o does fit the typical NFL linebacker build, and as for attributes, he does have great run support abilities. He has the upside there as well, and his ability to deconstruct blocks is very elite for a linebacker. His contact balance and tackle timing do need to make improvements, but he is still very pro-ready. And I have him mocked to the Steelers at pick 94, which was another mock trade. Steelers ended up trading up to get him. Number 78. This is where college awards get really confusing. If you're a casual watcher, let me go back. Let me just go to the NBA for example. Zach Edey was the National College Basketball Player of the Year, and he's probably not going to go anywhere near the first round. And it's like these guys have college skill sets. That's kind of the case here with number 78 and TCU's Travius Hodges-Tomlinson, who won the Jim Thorpe Award in 2022. He is my 13th best corner in this class, and Hodges is actually a pretty interesting prospect when you give his very small frame at 5'8", 178 pounds. But he is just fantastic on the outside, surprisingly. In man coverage, he has got athleticism, he's got route mirroring abilities, he's got very good play strength for his size as well. But he does struggle to deconstruct blocks, and he misses tackles due to a lack of his size and the lack of length. So upside isn't particularly there, but he's still very good on the outside when you take in his size. So I mocked him to 79th overall to the Indianapolis Colts due to his possibility to play on the outside. The Colts just lost Stephon Gilmore, so they're going to need that help, possibly as that mediocre starter that I was talking about. Number 77 here, we got the second quarterback so far and the 5th best in my big board, which is Tennessee quarterback Hendon Hooker. Hooker may have come from an offensive scheme that comes nowhere close to an NFL scheme, but he still has these great quarterback traits. He's got really good accuracy at all 3 levels. He's got good pocket mobility and good pocket awareness. Good decision making. Elite arm talent too, on top of other traits. But again, the scheme that he played in college manipulates offensive players a lot, so that's why he comes so low. He's also got the injury concern, of course. He might not play next year, but I still have the Texans trading up into the late first round at pick 26 to select Hooker in my latest mock draft. All right, number 76 on the board, the 4th running back so far. This is Ole Miss Zach Evans. He is my RB7. Evans may be falling for some people, but I do like his film, and his upside is even better too. He's an explosive back. He's got grit, the grit that teams love in a prospect, any positional prospect. But I understand the fall especially when you consider how many issues he had in college with recruiting. He had a lot of recruiting issues. He ended up transferring away from TCU, and immediately TCU became much better. That is very concerning. And he's a little scheme specific for a zone run scheme or a power run scheme. But I disagree with the fall for a lot of these NFL analysts. I mocked Evans to the Bengals at pick 92 when you consider the loss of Samaje Perine and the off-field issues surrounding Joe Mixon. Another potential steal here. Coming in at number 75, we have Iowa State receiver Xavier Hutchinson, which is my wide receiver 8 in this class. At all-around skill that Hutchinson has, which includes his route running. He's got good hands. He's got good body control. It doesn't show in the consensus for some reason, which is 115th overall. Excuse me again. He isn't too explosive. His athletic profile is just a little bit average, but I still mocked him to the Vikings at pick 87. Continuing on. Number 74 on this board, we have versatile offensive lineman Cody Mauch. I'm not sure how you say his last name. I apologize. I did scout him as an offensive tackle. He comes in as the offensive tackle 7 in this class. I do say versatile because he can play, depending on team needs, he can be a guard or a tackle. He doesn't have great NFL length for the NFL, but that may keep him on the inside. But his shiftiness for his size could keep him on the outside. So his mock for me is the Washington Commanders at pick 47, where he will probably play outside because just a little bit later in that draft, I took Warren McClendon, interior offensive lineman out of Georgia, with that next selection. Numeral 73, I got Florida State safety Jamie Robinson, who is my 5th favorite safety in this class. I really do like the run support that Robinson brings. And he does also have that coverage upside as well. And this is all because of his tackling ability, where he had great technique and great timing. I don't like his deep game upside, though, as he does give up a little bit too many big plays. But nonetheless, I mocked Robinson to Tampa Bay with the 82nd overall pick. Number 72, we got a bold one, but in the opposite way. That is South Carolina's Cam Smith, who is my cornerback number 12 in this class. So I'm definitely low on Smith when you compare him to consensus, but he is still a good corner when you're talking about a stacked cornerback class. He does have this fluidity in his lateral movements, and I like his anticipation as well. It's just the film didn't impress me. His habits are to be a little too aggressive, and he does have a lean frame as well. So I do think of it this way, and I'll get into this later as well. Cam Smith and Emmanuel Forbes are actually very similar prospects, and Forbes impressed me so much more on tape. So I still did mock Smith to the Chicago Bears in the 2nd round at pick 61. Ending this section, at 71, I have Luke Musgrave, tight end 6 in this class. I think Musgrave does have good upside because he does have the athleticism and the receiving abilities to work into a good starting role. But the film and the production were just not impressive at all. I did mock Musgrave to pick 58 with the Dallas Cowboys, and he joins in with that tight end committee where he's probably not going to start right away because they do have a couple of very solid backups in Jake Ferguson and Peyton Hendershot. Those guys are very solid, and they are probably all going to form a tight end committee in that tight end room. All right, so we continue the trend of these B- players as we continue on to these next section where there are 10 more of these players. The 70th best player in this draft class is Kansas State cornerback Julius Brents, just one corner outside of that top 10. So Brents is that guy who I just really want to put into my top 50 because of his measurables. He's got great versatility, but he does have concerns in man coverage that keep him away from that top 50 honor. So I mocked Brents to the New England Patriots at 46. Number 69 on this board is the 5th best tight end in this class with, the 5th tight end in this class with Iowa's Sam Laporta. Laporta is a little bit unbalanced as a prospect, but he has fantastic receiving abilities. He is my 2nd favorite receiving tight end in this class. The first one will be later on. But I am a little concerned with his blocking abilities. He isn't great at it, and he's another tight end that will likely need to be on the field, or will need to be off. Another tight end, will have to be on the field in these blocking situations, or Laporta just might not be on the field at all. In my latest mock draft, I had Laporta going to the Detroit Lions at pick 55. Moving on, we got pick 60 or number 68. I have a man from the MAC. We have defensive lineman Carl Brooks. He is my 7th best interior defensive lineman in this class. So I love how an FCS prospect is near the top of my board, and he deserves it with just that leadership and that grit that he brings to the table. Attribute-wise, he is very explosive, but he isn't great in that run defense. So I mocked Brooks 75th overall to the Atlanta Falcons. Number 67 on the board is TCU edge rusher Dylan Horton, who is my number 14 edge in this class. So again, look at how many of these edge rushers are still available. The edge 14, so we have 13 in the next 66 picks. So with Horton, though, he is very athletic with good run defense off the edge, but his pass rushing is extremely raw currently, but I still love that developmental upside, which is why I have him so high. I mocked him to the 49ers at pick 102. Number 66. I have Syracuse's Sean Tucker, running back 6 in this class for me. I am excited for his pro day, but I'm also concerned with how long it's taking for this injury to heal. That's just a tad concerning. I'm pretty sure actually his pro day might have been today, the day that I'm recording this, and I'm excited to see how he did. But again, it's a little concerning with this injury going on. But outside of his injury, he is very explosive from the handoff with good vision. He does lose some ground in the receiving game. And I did mock Tucker to replace Zeke in that Dallas offense at pick number 90. Number 65 on this board, we got Josh Downs, a wide receiver out of North Carolina, my wide receiver 7 on this list. Or on my board. Downs is becoming a very well-known name throughout draft boards, and it's not surprising when you take into account the productivity that he had at North Carolina, and he's got a good athletic profile for the receiver position. What does concern me, though, is his overall value isn't great. He does have a small frame, and he's just an atrocious blocker. So I do like Downs still, as he is my wide receiver 7, and I mocked him to the Texans at pick number 65. So exactly where he's at on my big board is where he gets drafted. 64, we got QB4 here. We got Will Levis from Kentucky. I did have Levis at QB3 originally, but Anthony Richardson's stock just continues to rise for me. Levis does have a growing possibility to be drafted in second overall to Houston, I'm seeing with Vegas odds, and I really don't see it at all. Levis's decision making is just terrible. He's very inconsistent, but on the positive side, though, he does have great arm strength. He's got decent mobility in and out of the pocket as well. I just see him as another Zach Wilson, just without as much mobility as Wilson had. I mocked Levis to the Raiders at pick number 7 after having Houston go non-QB with their selection. 63, I have the 5th best running back in this class, Devon Achane, Texas A&M, The one leading factor for Achane is his athleticism. He is the most athletic running back in this class, possibly the most athletic person in this class. He has elite top speed, great explosiveness, and elusiveness. It should somewhat get him past the line every single time. He is a very small, though, and his play strength isn't reliable whatsoever. So I did mock Achane to the Chicago Bears in a mock trade. The Bears trade up to get him at pick number 88. All right, continuing on, number 62, we got back-to-back tight ends, not back-to-back. We are back to the tight ends with South Dakota State's Tucker Kraft. My tight end 4. We have an FCS gem here. I do see him being very impactful to any offense in the NFL. Kraft can do anything you ask him to do on the field, and that should translate to the NFL pretty well. But, of course, he played in FCS competition, and he didn't go to North Dakota State, so people are going to be underrating him a lot. I still do have him mocked pretty early, this time to the Dolphins at pick 51. And to end this section, I have my edge number 13 in this class. We got Andre Carter out of the Army. So Carter is very raw with high developmental upside. He is a very good athlete for the position as well. But he does have a small variety of moves that can be developed. He's inconsistent all around. That can't particularly be developed. But I still do have Carter mocked to the Denver Broncos at pick number 68. All right, so we do end the trend of these B- grade players here, but these next two guys are still B-, and we start this new section at number 60 with Texas A&M safety Antonio Johnson. So this is just a couple picks after Devon Achane. A lot of people do think that Achane is the better of the best Texas A&M prospect in this draft. I disagree. I think Johnson is. So Johnson is a versatile defensive back. He's probably going to end up playing safety, but as an overall defender, he can play safety, he can play corner, and maybe even linebacker in the NFL. But he does struggle with discipline. Teams are going to avoid him for that reason. Hopefully he can develop that, though. I did mock him to the LA Rams at pick 69, and when you put into consideration that I did draft two cornerbacks later in that mock with Riley Moss and Corey Trice, he'll probably stick to safety. But 59 on the board, we enter the top 10 corners on this list. Clark Phillips out of Utah. I do love the upside that Phillips has for nickelback in the NFL. His zone coverage is just fantastic. He may make that switch to safety in the NFL, but his size and man coverage abilities, they are concerning if you want him to play corner in the NFL. So I did mock him to the Eagles at pick 62, or they can just generally place him wherever they want. So now, from here, we start the B-grade guys. So these B-grade guys I mark as guys who are going to end up starting in the NFL, but they're going to just be that reliable starter who's just average overall when they start. So we start this grade at number 58 on my board with Ohio State offensive tackle DeJuan Jones, who is my offensive tackle number 6 in this class. So he rose from top 80 to top 60, and that's because I love his upside, given his just ridiculous length when it comes to blocking. He played right tackle at Ohio State, but with his length gives him the potential to play on the left side as well for blind side. His lower body strength isn't great, though, and that may be considering that he plays rushers 6 inches shorter than him. That he's going to get absolutely just used with his lower body strength being lackluster. I did mock Jones to the Raiders at pick 38. Number 57 on my board, we got Byron Jones. Not the interior defensive lineman from Bama, not the edge rusher from Tennessee. Sadly, that Tennessee guy didn't make the list. But Young is my interior defensive lineman number 6, and he has the upside to be that A to A- type of impact. He's got versatility, he's got leverage, but the thing I didn't like in his film is how his hips are pretty tight, and he just fails to efficiently move laterally, so I did mock him to the Texans at pick 73. 56 overall, we got another Syracuse prospect. This time, this is a third one on this list. This time, cornerback Garrett Williams, who is my cornerback 9. So Williams is amazing just as a general defender. He may make that transfer to safety or nickelback because his biggest strengths are tackling and versatility. So he may struggle in the press despite his play strength and his tackling ability. His initial knock is very underwhelming when you consider those. And I did mock him to the Ravens, actually, at pick 76, which was mock traded to them, assuming they just skip out on pick 22 because of the cornerback depth in this class. All right. 55, we got Ohio State center Luke Weipler, who is my third favorite interior offensive lineman on the board. So Weipler is a little bit unbalanced as a blocker. He's a fantastic pro blocker, but he's an under-average run blocker. His leverage and technique do make him pretty pro-ready, though. So I mocked him to the New York Giants at pick number 57. 54 on the board. We got versatile defensive lineman Colby Wooden out of Auburn. Wooden's versatility struck me most, but he should probably just be an average anchor on the line. He's got good play strength, though, but the problem is his athletic profile. It's not great, and that may just help make him stick to that inside. But I did scout him as an edge. He had the outside experience in college, and he is my 12th favorite edge in this class, and I mocked him to the Patriots in another mock traded 86th overall pick. All right, number 53, QB3 comes off here. We got Anthony Richardson. I had these QBs lower originally, and I did raise them, but I just don't want to put them too high in terms of talent. So Richardson's upside is through the roof, as he is the most athletic player in this class, out of any position, quarterback and just in this class in general. But his accuracy is a massive issue, and he just isn't a great quarterback at all. So I ended up mocking Richardson to the Colts at pick 4 with the 2 top QBs and the top edge going before him. All right, next up on my board at number 52 is Mazi Smith out of Michigan. My 5th favorite guy on the interior of the defensive line. Smith is just probably the most valuable run defender in this class. He has crazy good gap control, and his athleticism is actually really surprising considering his 323-pound frame. But the issue is the pass rush. He can't get past the line of scrimmage efficiently at all. I did mock Smith to the Cardinals at pick 34. It's not the best interior defensive lineman on the board at this point, but they desperately need that run defense, as they lost a lot of guys on that D-line, let alone they weren't very good at run defense last year either. And to round out the back half of this board, I do have edge rusher Will McDonald out of Iowa State. So he is my edge number 11 in this class. He has very high upside as a pass rusher, given his solid and still developing athleticism with great measurables. The issue is his play strength, though. Very under average for an edge rusher. And it is a high upside selection here, but I did mock him to the Bears at pick 53. And now keep in mind, I'm going to say this again, 20% of these next 50 players are edge rushers. All right, so it's time for the front half of this list now. We make another grade change midway through, but for now we're sticking to these B grade reliable starters. So at number 50, we start with Miami cornerback Tyreek Stevenson. He is my cornerback 8 in this class. Stevenson he's a fantastic press cornerback. He's mocked to a team that desperately needs a physical press corner. In the Cincinnati Bengals, actually. Uzier's got an injury concern. Britt's not too physical, but yet he does struggle with run support despite his physicality. That kind of just counteracts him playing in the press, but he struggles with other types of coverage spanning from off man to zone. Number 49 on the board. We got another cornerback here. This time it's Michigan's DJ Turner at pick 49. Turner is the most athletic cornerback in this class, potentially competing with A-Chain as the most athletic player in this class. She's just fantastic at mirroring receivers, even in press, despite he's undersized, but despite that, he's still pretty damn good in press. He can go deep. His fluidity is pretty good. But he is a bit lackluster in play strength, and he may be a liability in the red zone considering his length and his just okay vertical ability. I have him projected to the Cardinals at pick number 41 in this class, which is a pick that was mock traded to them. That's a pretty big mock trade. I'll explain it in a moment, or in a couple moments, actually. We won't get into that for a while. Number 48, though, I have edge rusher Felix Anudike-Uzomah out of Kansas State, my edge number 10. Remember when I was talking about out of Boare, and I was talking about that this guy is basically out of Boare with his inconsistencies in run support, but Anudike-Uzomah is actually very well-rounded as an edge prospect. He's very athletic around the edge, but he can also play on the inside as shown in his alignment experience at Kansas State. Yet, again, as I said, he's very inconsistent in the run game, and some misses are actually just very inexcusable there. I did mock Anudike to the Lions at pick 48. Number 47 is one of those guys that is starting to grow with bust. Like, a lot of people are starting to say he's going to be a bust, blah, blah, blah. I don't see it. Zach Charbonnet, running back 4 out of UCLA. I do understand the buzz around it-ish. He doesn't fit the typical running back at this day. But yet, even if Eckler leaves, or even if he doesn't leave, Chargers are going to be getting a powerful and great vision running back. He's going to act as a team's goal line back no matter what happens with Eckler here. The Chargers did snag him at pick 54 in my latest mock. 46 is Jordan Battle from Alabama. He is my safety number 3 in this class. So Battle is very versatile in terms of alignments and at safety, actually, in which he showed efficiency at Alabama. His run support and tackling, it's just extremely underwhelming, and he'll probably just end up playing deep safety in the NFL. I did mock Jordan Battle to the Broncos at pick number 67. 45, this is the last B-grade prospect on this list, and this is Jalen Hyatt, Jalen Hyatt, wide receiver out of Tennessee. He is my wide receiver 6 in this class. So I liked Hyatt's NFL upside when I looked at film, but as I said with Hendon Hooker, he played in an offensive scheme that favors manipulation of production in that offense. So Hyatt's top speed is still fantastic. He should be great athletically. I did mock him to pick 44, not 45, 44 to the Atlanta Falcons. So from here, we got to switch and grade. We do have a switch to B+. So, excuse me. These B+ grade guys, these are consistent starters with upside to be Pro Bowl talent. And these are guys who will, if they don't make up to, or if they only live up to just their expectations, they won't make a Pro Bowl. And we start with offensive tackle Anton Harrison out of Oklahoma, pick number 44 on my board, offensive tackle 4 in this class. So this is another guy who people are calling a bust, and I'm seeing a lot of buzz for that. But this time it's because he's very tight in his movements, and I don't see it coming from the fact that he has elite length for left tackle, and he's got good pass protection abilities as well on the blind side. I did mock Harrison to the Colts at pick 35. Indianapolis Colts, we didn't think they'd be taking an offensive lineman going into this year, but that blocking was just very underwhelming last year. All right, number 43, I have the high upside Keon White of Georgia Tech. He is my edge number 9. I understand that he is a very raw edge rusher, and he is very new to the position as well. But he has already shown success through his freak athleticism and play strength combination, and it's kind of rare to see the kind of productivity he brings when he's so new to the position. So I did mock the Raiders taking him at pick 56 when they trade up to take him, and then they just select White after they trade up to pick 56. Numero 42. On my board, this is my 4th favorite interior defensive lineman in this draft, and that is with Wisconsin's Keanu Benton. I love Benton to the Packers, but he didn't end up going there in my mock. They took 2 guys who were more valuable to the roster. I ended up having him go to the Steelers at pick 49. Benton will work great as that one tech in that defense, and he's great in both pass and run, but he does struggle with that kind of consistent leverage in his pad level. All right, ending this section at number 41, we have Georgia cornerback Kelee Ringo. He is my cornerback 6 in this class. So Ringo is another guy that a lot of people think is going to be a bust because he's tight, just like Anton Harrison. His hip fluidity is very bad, and he easily allows separation and coverage. But yet Ringo has that enticing combination of size and athleticism to bring very good upside to the table. So I did mock Ringo to the Steelers, this one at pick 32 instead of Benton being at pick 49 with the last prospect. All right, so all of the prospects from 31 to 40 are also B+ prospects, but we do change in the next section. Prospect number 40 on my board is Osiris Torrance from Florida. So he is my interior O-lineman number 2 on my board. Torrance is a very, very good run blocker with great leverage as well. I mocked him to the Cowboys at a mock traded 33rd overall pick where they will pound the ball and utilize him to the best they can. A negative with him, though, is that after a while he has not allowed a sack in 1,500 pass snaps, his abilities in general are just very lackluster for the NFL. That's why with me mocking him to the Cowboys at pick 33, he fits really well with that just pound the ball scheme that their new offensive coordinator is going to bring. Number 39, I have Christopher Smith the second, another pretty high compared to consensus. He is a safety out of Georgia. He is my second favorite safety in this class. Smith acts like a cornerback when it comes to like timing and route squeezing and anticipation, stuff like that. It's like cornerback like. Alongside the fact that he has versatility to play cornerback as well. But his undersized NFL frame may be a slight issue, and I ended up mocking him to the Arizona Cardinals at pick number 66. 38 on my board, we have edge rusher Derek Hall from Auburn. So he's my edge number 8 in this class. Hall has that elite explosiveness off the edge. He always works on his snaps, and he has a good set of moves to get around the blocker. But he does struggle with consistency, which can't particularly be taught or coached, so hopefully he can improve on consistency. Nonetheless, I mocked him at pick number 45 to the Packers. As I was talking about earlier, I didn't mock Keanu Benton there. I mocked Derek Hall instead. 37. Another compared to consensus kind of pretty big guy I'm on. That is SMU wideout Rashee Rice. He is my wide receiver 5 in this class. I do think Rice could be a steal. He is a fantastic playmaker in the open field. He's just elite, really good yards after catch guy, and he just doesn't have the most polished route running, but I do like him in the second round, and I mocked him to the Bills at pick 59 to hopefully develop into a starting wideout, and I don't particularly like Gabe Davis, so that might help. 36 is Iowa pass rusher Lucas Van Ness, my edge number 7 in this class. I have a lot of mixed opinions on Van Ness generally, but his play strength is what just sold me. He's got great ability to bull rush off the edge, but he isn't very athletic at all. And if it's already as bad as it is, I don't see it improving when it comes to the NFL level. I did mock him to pick 30 to the Philadelphia Eagles, and that is a very popular selection, yet consensus says the Packers are going to take him at 15. I just don't see it. 35. Tight end 3 in this class, and the first since number 62 when I had Tucker Kraft. This one is Dalton Kincaid out of Utah. Kincaid, he's just like Sam Laporta, but he's better in that reigning section, which is the receiving game. Kincaid is the best receiving tight end in this class by a pretty hot margin, and he's got elite body control, good catch radius, good route running for a tight end, on top of other traits as well. He is still that subpar blocker. He won't be valuable on rundowns as much as teams would want him to be. And I mocked Kincaid to a mock traded 36th overall pick going to Cincinnati. So Cincinnati, if you didn't want to trade down because you wanted Kincaid, you still get Kincaid anyways. The number 34 on my board is another potential steal in this class with Tulane running back Tyjae Spears, who is my running back 3 in this class. I love Spears' skill set. I love his upside. That can all be developed very well. He's almost like a DeAndre Swift clone, which makes sense that I mocked him to Detroit Lions at pick 81, under expectation that DeAndre Swift just won't be back next year since he's running out. Well, he's got 1 year left on his contract. So assuming he won't be back, Tyjae Spears takes the spot. 33 on my board, we got wide receiver Jordan Addison from USC. He is my wide receiver 4 in this class. So Addison has significantly fallen since I first took a look at him last year. He has a mediocre athletic profile for his position, but yet his route running is still very fantastic. It's like he creates the perfect amount of separation on each play. Every single time he has a pass snap. But at pick 25, owned by the New York Giants, Zay Flowers is the best wide receiver on the board, but the selection of Wan'Dale Robinson the year before, they already have that kind of slot, like undersized slot receiver. They just go ahead and take Jordan Addison, who will likely be that wide receiver 1 immediately. Pick number 32, I have I'm just going to say defensive prospect for Drew Sanders out of Arkansas. It's a very hard decision wherever to scout him. I ended up scouting him at linebacker, where he came out as the 3rd best linebacker in this class. It is worth noting, though, that his best trait is his pass rush versatility. He can rush. He's got efficiency as well on any of these positions. But on the edge, from in the A gap, in the A gap, in the B gap, wherever you need him blitzing wise, he's there. So he does have some tackling concerns, which almost contradicts that pass rush efficiency, but I did mock Sanders to the Seattle Seahawks at pick number 37. He's the first linebacker off the board despite him being the third best, but he gives them that versatile defender in that hole-filled defense. And we are wrapping this section up here with Boston College wide receiver Zay Flowers. So he is my wide receiver 3 in this class. I love Flowers as that kind of elite slot receiver. And in my opinion, he's the best route runner in this class. He's full of good route runners. The size is going to be a big concern. He's standing at 5'9", 182 pounds. And I mocked Flowers to pick 31 to the Kansas City Chiefs after he was passed on by the New York Giants. All right, so entering the top 30 here, I start with my A-grade prospects, or A-minus grade prospects. So these guys are marked as like the undoubtable starters. They will make a couple of Pro Bowls by career end, but they're not particularly an all-pro kind of guy. They have the upside, but not particularly an all-pro kind of guy. So this section does start with and I forgot to mention these guys are like early second round selections with this grade. All right, so we start with Isaiah Foskey, edge rusher out of Notre Dame here for edge number 6. So I've been on Foskey for a while now, as he is just a great all-around defender. He flashed edge 1 potential throughout the season, but he did struggle against top football or college football talent though. And that is just extremely concerning. So improve on his consistency and he will be elite. So I did mock Foskey to the Saints at pick 140. All right. Moving on, we got Maryland cornerback Deonte Banks coming in at number 29. He is the 5th best corner in this class. Banks' versatility immediately showed out on film. I saw him in many different coverage alignments while at Maryland. I didn't particularly like his coverage abilities in short routes, and he's not particularly just that great short down corner. And I've been mocking Banks to Minnesota at pick 23 for a while now. Number 28 is offensive tackle Darnell Wright out of Tennessee. He is my offensive tackle number 4 in this class. So just like Banks, the versatility of Wright showed out immediately on film. He's an efficient blocker everywhere. He can play outside. He can play inside, left side, right side, wherever you need him, he's efficient. But the concern is that he's just not great working in tight spaces. He's going to need space to be able to block well. I did mock Wright to the Steelers at pick number 17 since Porter went the pick before. Number 27, I have Georgia edge rusher Nolan Smith. He is my edge number 5 on the board. So Smith to me is that boomer bust prospect at the position because he has the upside, but he needs major work on his development to his technique. He needs to be successful. Or he needs to develop his technique to be successful. My apologies. He does have the athleticism to work with, though, so I did mock him to the Ravens at pick number 22. All right, number 26 on the board is the second best linebacker in Iowa's Jack Campbell. I love Campbell as a fantastic Mike linebacker in the NFL. He's got great leadership, got great communication, and that's adding on to his zone coverage success. Excuse me. I didn't like his athletic profile. His explosiveness was extremely underwhelming, and I mocked him to the Bucs at pick number 50, assuming that Devin White gets traded away. 25th overall is the best interior offensive lineman in this class. The first position to see their best player come off the board, that is Minnesota's John Michael Schmitz. I love the pick of Schmitz over Torrance. Schmitz just seems more like a pro-ready prospect. He's got a more well-rounded skill set. He's got really good leverage already. And I understand he saw a lot of double teams that may have manipulated his production, but by himself, he was still very efficient on film. So I mocked Schmitz to the Bills at pick number 27. Number 24, I have the safety from Alabama in Brian Branch. So he is my favorite safety in this class. Branch's combine performance was pretty underwhelming, but on tape, he still shows great tackling abilities, and he's possibly the best tackler in this entire NFL draft. So he has good versatility that showed out on Bama's defense as well. So I mocked him to pick number 24 to Jacksonville. Gives them a nice piece to toy with on defense. Number 23 is Ohio State wideout Jackson Smith-Njigba, my wide receiver 2 in this class. So Smith-Njigba, he does have the most red flags out of these top 4 wide receivers, but he also has amazing body control and route running abilities that NFL teams have valued so much lately. So he only had 1 season of productivity in his 3 years with Ohio State, though. His freshman year, he was on the bench. Sophomore year, very productive. Junior year, injured. So I mocked Njigba to the Packers at pick 15, and that gives them a new elite route runner in that offense. Number 22 on the board is another cornerback in Joey Porter Jr. So we're now down to my cornerback 4. I love Porter with his fantastic ball skills and hand usage, but in a sometimes like referee-controlled NFL, he may be prone to holding calls and holding penalties just left and right. If he can improve on his discipline, I do love him as an A grade, but for now he's an A minus. So I mocked him to the Commanders at pick 16. And to wrap up this section, at number 21, I have Alabama running back Jahmyr Gibbs, my running back 2, behind a very clear running back 1. If you don't know it, you should know it by now. Gibbs is the best receiving back in this class. He's got a shifty nature in the open field, and along with great vision, he may be a gadget player, just like Debo is. I don't like his play strength much, and he may not be a true 3-down back in the NFL. I did mock Gibbs. He fell pretty far in my mock, and he ends up going to the Carolina Panthers at pick 39 after he fell pretty far. Spoiler alert, though, I do have Panthers taking Bryce Young, pick 1, so that pick makes so much sense, noting that now you're reuniting Bryce Young and Jahmyr Gibbs. All right, so another grade break halfway through this section, but we're going to continue on with 11 to 20 here real quick, starting with Ohio State offensive tackle Paris Johnson Jr., my offensive tackle number 3. So Johnson has the measurables to succeed. He's got fantastic length along with great aggression and a high motor. But the one issue with Johnson is his pass blocking production. He consistently allowed pressures in these big games. So I did mock Johnson to the Jets at pick 13, and it makes total sense considering what they look for in an offensive tackle. Mekhi Becton being a big example. So if they don't get an offensive tackle in round 1, expect them to pull the trigger on DeJuan Jones in round 2. So prospect number 19 on the board is my tight end 2 in Georgia's Darnell Washington. So Washington is a very high upside, especially considering his dominant frame at 6'7", 264 pounds. He's an elite blocker with developing receiving abilities, but he's not great at getting the separation that he wants. He has that great vertical upside nonetheless, and I mocked him to the Packers, because this is the mocked pick that they get from the Jets in that trade for Aaron Rodgers. I mock him getting 42. Speaking of the Jets, so Packers get Darnell Washington with that mock pick. Number 18, someone who I think could possibly be a steal. I'm not sure, though. That is LSU edge rusher B.J. Ojulari. He is my edge number 4 in this class. So Ojulari has continued to rise on my board, and he should for everyone else's. He's very well-rounded pass rusher. He's got good athleticism. He's got great grit that teams love, but he does struggle with his frame, which his brother Azeez Ojulari is in the NFL already. He's been productive having the same frame, but he is still slightly undersized. That's a concern you're going to want to look at. I do have the Rams trading up in the first round to get him at pick 28. At number 17, I have Clemson's Trenton Simpson, linebacker, my favorite linebacker in this class. Simpson isn't the most pro-ready linebacker, but he's got immense upside. He's got good athleticism and good coverage abilities, but he does struggle when it comes to like block deconstruction, and that may hit his upside for run support. So I mocked Simpson as the second linebacker off the board to the New York Jets at pick number 43. Again, speaking of the New York Jets, we've had pick 20 was a New York Jet. Pick 19 was a pick that was traded by the New York Jets, and pick 17 is a New York Jet. That's kind of funny. All right, pick number 16 in this class, we got another Clemson prospect. Product, you can say that too, actually. This time on the interior defensive line, though. This time with Brian Bryce. He's my interior defensive lineman number 3. Big concerns coming from his injury history. He never particularly had the chance to produce at Clemson. But attributes-wise, he's still great. He's got versatility. He's got fluidity. He's always focused on rushing. So I mocked him to the Saints at pick number 29. All right, so these next 13 prospects, these are your A-grade prospects. So these are guys who are going to be consistently making the Pro Bowl. They have great all-pro upside at this point. And, yeah, so let's get into these from 15 to 3. These next guys, again, all pro upside. And we start with Emmanuel Forbes, the cornerback out of Mississippi State. He is the third best corner in this class. It is a very upside-based selection for me, and he does struggle with discipline, but his man coverage is fantastic. He has great ball skills as well. And if you remember me talking about Cam Smith, I said Cam Smith, Emmanuel Forbes. You got two very similar prospects. Forbes looks so much better on tape than Cam Smith did. So I like Forbes a lot, and I have the Seattle selecting Forbes with the 20th overall pick in my latest mock. So at number 14, though, I have Northwestern offensive tackle Peter Skoronski, which is my offensive tackle number 2. So Skoronski, he's a fun offensive lineman prospect. Depending on where he lands, he could play outside or he could play inside. He does lack a bit of length, though, and his technique is the best in this class. He is so ready to play pro ball. Possibly the most pro-ready prospect that isn't like your A-plus prospects in this class. So, actually, not only one of the A-plus prospects is more pro-ready than this guy. So I have Skoronski going to the Bears at pick 9 for needs. He's not the best offensive tackle on the board, but offensive lineman-wise, they need basically everyone. So they take Skoronski. Number 13, we got Pitt defensive tackle Kalijah Cansey, who is my interior D lineman number 2 in this class. Cansey's upside is extremely high, with a lot of people seeing traces of like Aaron Donald as a prospect. And Donald is the outlier and not the example. But Cansey's athleticism and his crazy production at Pitt, which is where Aaron Donald went to college, that makes him a pretty fun prospect. Yet he is undersized for a defensive tackle, so we'll see how he pans out. I do have the Lions taking Cansey at pick number 18 if he falls that far. Keywords if he falls that far, because I can definitely see some team taking a big bet on his upside. Nonetheless, we move on. Number 12 on my board is Illinois' very own Devin Witherspoon. So he's the second best cornerback in this class, and he's one of my favorite prospects because I'm a big Illini fan, first off. But as a prospect, though, I still love him. He's got the best route squeezing ability in this class, elite anticipation. He's got a really good eye for the football just in general. And he is a tad lean, though. He could strictly be a slot cornerback or even a nickel zone guy. But I mocked Witherspoon at pick 8 to the Atlanta Falcons. And wrapping up this section, we have off the edge, Clemson product, another guy, 3 Clemson guys from 11 to 20 here. We got Miles Murphy this time. He is my edge number 3 in this class. I used to have Murphy as an A-plus prospect, and he was my number 3 overall, but he fell after I dug deeper into his athletic profile. But he's still very versatile. He saw great consistency off the edge at Clemson, and I mocked Murphy to the Bucs at pick 19. All right, so we are now entering the top 10 of this list, and we start with Notre Dame tight end Michael Mayer at number 10. So he's my favorite tight end in this class, and I like him at tight end 1 because he's the most well-rounded tight end prospect that we have seen in a while, actually. Like, it's been a really good amount of time since we've last seen someone as well-rounded as Mayer. I have said Meyer on accident, my fault. Mayer. He can receive really well. He can block really well. He was efficient everywhere he played at Notre Dame. But the concern with him is what he does after he gets the ball. His open field ability just is pretty mediocre. But I mocked him to the Los Angeles Chargers at pick 21, being the only tight end taken in the first round. Number 9, I have the best cornerback in this class with Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. Him and Witherspoon, they have a very tight gap for the best corner in this class. But, Gonzalez has the higher upside. He's just got a fantastic and enticing blend of athleticism and size. He does also have some of the best press coverage in this class. The only person I can see topping his press coverage is Tyreek Stevenson. But he does have concerns with anticipation outside of press, so like off man and zone, a little bit of a concern in anticipation. But the press is just what should sell teams in general. I did mock Gonzalez to the Lions at pick number 6. Number 8 on my board is the second best edge rusher in this class with Tyree Wilson. To me, he just seems like a better version of Lucas Van Ness. He's very physical with a fantastic bull rush and subpar athletic profile, and it's just almost identical to Van Ness. Here's how I see it, though. Van Ness is the better prospect when it comes to bull rushing. Wilson is better athletically. In my opinion, when I hear that doesn't mean they balance out. That means Wilson is more well-rounded, so I like him more. So I like him at this position. I mocked him to the Arizona Cardinals, who traded down from number 3 to pick 11 to take Tyree Wilson. Number 7, I have the best wide receiver in this class with Quentin Johnston out of TCU. So Johnston has some of the best physical tools in this class, let alone that doesn't discuss his his deep threat upside, his vertical ability as well. And I understand the concerns. He's very underdeveloped when it comes to route running. He's an average route runner. He's got a very under average route tree. But nonetheless, I still believe in him to develop into that all-pro kind of player. So I did mock Johnston to the Patriots at pick 14, and that's trying to make Mac Jones just as good as possible. Another quarterback. We haven't seen a quarterback since pick 53, or number 53 on my board. Excuse me, with Anthony Richardson. We now get one at number 6, and that is QB2 CJ Stroud. From Ohio State. So the red flags just keep coming in for Stroud, but I like to look at things pre-combine, and pre-combine, Stroud actually made a lot of strides, and he made his way up my rankings despite the red flags. His under pressure poise and decision-making is really bad. It has to be fixed, but in terms of attributes, he is very special. Elite arm talent, elite accuracy, sneaky good mobility as well, good decision-making. It just all falls apart when he's under pressure. I did mock Stroud to the Titans at pick number 3, so I will talk about this later. Titans, Ryan Tannehill's not going to work out. Malik Willis, apparently they don't like him. So they're going to trade up, get that QB of the future with Stroud at pick number 3. All right, time for the top 5. Already going to go a bit bold here. I don't see this guy at the top of offensive tackle rankings. I don't see him generally near the top 5, but I have Broderick Jones out of Georgia. I'm very high on Jones as a general offensive tackle. He is kind of raw and inexperienced, but he's very athletic, great at covering every kind of rusher off the edge. And he hasn't started a lot, but he has all the attributes to just develop into one of the best offensive tackles of all time. I'll say it. One of the best offensive tackles of all time. I didn't mock Jones to the Houston Texans at pick 12. He wasn't the first offensive tackle taken off the board, as I said earlier, but it was just primarily because of the scheme needs. All right, number 4, I have the best running back prospect in my running back once in Saquon Barkley. That is Bijan Robinson out of Texas. Bijan Robinson has everything you can ask for in a running back prospect. Fantastic vision, good play strength, great elusiveness, great athleticism. The problem is he doesn't really have many problems. But I can't be ranking running backs really high because it's almost like a coin flip if they're going to pan out to expectations at this point. So nonetheless, I still do have Robinson at number 4. I mocked him to the Philadelphia Eagles at pick 10. If you watch my latest mock draft, you know I picked for what I think will happen. Or no, I didn't pick from what I think will happen. I picked for what I think should happen. And I think the Eagles should take Bijan Robinson, but I doubt they do that. Number 3, we got the best quarterback on the list and the highest A grade here. That is Bryce Young out of Alabama. I keep saying that Young is the mini version of Patrick Mahomes with elite poise and attributes along with that. But yes, his size could be a massive concern in the NFL. I totally get it. As of lately, at least, undersized guys have not been too successful. So I do have him at number 1 of the Carolina Panthers. I don't see any other pick happening there unless the Panthers were to trade down. We have 2 guys left. These top 2 selections, these are your A-plus prospects. So the guys who I project will make it to the Hall of Fame. And it starts with the runner-up and defensive lineman Jalen Carter out of Georgia. I have totally taken into account the off-the-field issues and the character issues, but I mean, as I've said this many times, he reminds me of Micah Parsons in a way. He's so dominant on the inside. He's got great elusive movements, great body control, and he's just very well-rounded at defensive tackle. Sure, the character is an issue, but again, Michael Parsons, he fell all the way to pick 12 because of these character issues, and now he's the best defender potentially. Actually, no, I will say this. He's the best defender in the NFL. Best all-around defender. I'm not sure about best pass rusher, but best all-around defender in the NFL. I still think Carter's the top 2 prospect despite these off-the-field issues. So I have him mocked to the Seattle Seahawks at pick number 5. And finally, the best prospect in the 2023 NFL Draft is edge rusher Will Anderson Jr. out of Alabama. So I'm going to state the positives, as the negatives are a bit tacky and they're pretty minor, but he has a very good athletic profile. He's got a prototypical frame, elusive movements, positional versatility, pass and run defense, efficient coverage as well, and he's just overall just an anchor for any team that he plays for. I mocked Anderson to the Houston Texans at pick number 2. I said earlier they end up getting Hendon Hooker later in the first round as they trade up. I just think the smarter selection here, if you are Houston, is take a big gamble, or don't take a big gamble on QB. Take one of these top 2 guys who are amazing on defense and just get your quarterback later on, or wait until next year to get your quarterback, because you got very good quarterback class coming in next year, headlined by Caleb Williams out of USC. Well, okay. So those were my top 100 prospects in the 2023 NFL Draft. Did you agree? Did you disagree with anything? Let me know in the comments below. So just let me know in the comments below. I will reply to your comment. I will have a debate with you gladly. I'm not someone to get in arguments though, but I will gladly respond to anything you agree or disagree with and just talk to you about it. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Coming up, I won't have any more content until the NFL Draft. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed. I'm Chase Keller from Chase Keller Journalism, and thank you guys so much for choosing this channel as your source of sports coverage. See you guys in the next one.